Hey, we're back. It's Thursday night. Heroes and Hooligans. It is Paint and Pendulum. Um, I don't have a camera on tonight. We've got some technical challenges. I am just back from a road trip. I didn't have a lot of time to set up. Camera was glitchy, so I'm going microphone only. Welcome back. We are back to it. It's Thursday night. I already said that. It's Paint and Pendulum, renamed. Yes, renamed. Back to a saga in the world of Benalia. Now that the crew has moved on from Kamachkalan to the island slash city of the same name of Glaciava, I've decided to sort of put us back in the world with the Paint and Pendulum name. So, welcome back. This is episode 18 of this campaign. Feels like, gosh, it feels like only 17 episodes, but here we are, episode 18 somehow. Oof, goes so fast. Um, we have a new player tonight, Ivy, and we're going to get into an introduction in a bit. We are at Folks Redoubt. The tavern in Glaciava. And the crew has some things to discuss. Why don't we give Sonny? Would you like to give an update, a recap of last week, last session?
Sure. So we had this brilliant idea to try to. We had heard about this magic sword that had gotten stolen by some local thugs, and we had this brilliant idea to go and sell them hopped up haste potions that they were apparently addicted to get as a way to get into there and find the person with the sword and retrieve the sword. And the plan mostly worked. We managed to convince like one of the sub bosses that he really wanted to turn on his boss, and got our way into the big boss and discovered that he was not a addled addicted person, but rather a demon who had strapped the sword to his tail. At which point a fight ensued. And about halfway through the fight, our ally, who we had convinced that he was going to replace the big boss, decided that maybe he had his second thoughts and swap sides. And then we managed to a little bit further in the fight convince him to swap back. Um, so we successfully barely scraped by with a win there. Put the ally, and I use that term very, very loosely, on the throne and walked out with the sword. And now we're like, well, we heard about this sword being stolen, but the guy who had it stolen from him wasn't willing to tell us his name at the time because he didn't want the Twitch kids, who is the gang, coming after them. And so now we're back at the place where we originally saw him, Folks Redoubt, and trying to figure out what we want to do with the sword. Like, we learned a whole bunch of information about the sword. It's apparently one of like this set of 5 artifacts. Yeah, so we have a sword. We need to figure out what to do with it. Maybe, hopefully, give it back to the guy. Maybe assuming that he actually seems like the type who would use it, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, that's a summary. I think the rest is getting into discussion.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much. The Twitch kids are a fickle lot, we can say. I think you've been in 2 battles with them, and it's when you get into a scrape with Twitch kids, you never exactly know which side they're on. Are there even sides? That's the question. Um, So that was a great recap. So the sword, Alvira, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you've learned about the sword? Do we have you? Maybe not. Do we have you?
Hopefully, yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me or no?
Yep, we hear you. We do hear you. Well, while Alvira gets her audio together, why don't we talk a little bit about Glaciava, a little bit of context that maybe we haven't discussed before. Glaciava is a city that is it is right on the edge between glaciers and volcanoes. So think about a volcano that is in a northern climate and polar climate, and there are glaciers and snow, and yet you've got geological activity. This city is on an island that is right in a trading route, well positioned, very strategic, but it also is a place that happens to be on that thin line between the prime material plane and maybe some other planes that are demonic, shall we say? And the party did fight a devil last week. That was a bone devil. For those keeping track at home. The one thing about Glaciava, it is organized in districts. The first district is the port. You came in on the port. Second district, Folks Redoubt, is in the second district. It is an opulent, rich area. And progressively, we go down from there. The third district are merchants. Fourth district are the servants of the rich. Fifth district are the dock workers. They've got quite a commute. Sixth district are gambling halls and other working class vices. I think Mutters Utters may have been in that space. Seventh district are the places that the people who work in the sixth district live. Eighth district is where the Twitch kids really are. Eighth and ninth, people who prey on those workers' addictions, and the Twitch kids are the primary inhabitants of the ninth district. All right, Alvira, do we have you back? No? Okay. All right. We are in the tavern, Folks Redoubt. It is a well-appointed tavern. You can see it on your screen. Blue crushed velvet appoints much of the upholstered furniture here. There's a corner where a bard is performing. It's a subdued performance. The bard seems to be talking about, again, like a few nights ago, talking about how when they were young, they thought they had it all. They thought that they were the chosen one. But as time has gone on, they realize that the shine has worn off of them, and they feel like they're maybe not such a nice guy after all. There's a lot of regret. They are emoting sort of a resignation, perhaps regret, perhaps a grief over what might have been of their life. It's a subdued performance, not a raucous punk rock performance tonight. A little bit subdued performance. Along the bar, Sonny, you see a few folks. There is a cleric who is mostly drinking their wine. They make a little symbol before every drink, a little kiss the holy symbol type symbol, and then drink. There is a wizard, and then you do see the person who had been violated by the Twitch kids, the person who had the sword. On the other side of the bar, the tavern, you have a number of tables with people around them. One of those tables looks like it might be some sort of adventuring party. There seems to be a barbarian, perhaps, and perhaps could that be a half giant, maybe? and a warrior of some sort. That might be a warlock over there. Then you see in another corner at another table there are two people talking. Alvira, do we have you back? Let's try. Let's hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank Jeebus.
All right. At that other table, you see a couple of people. Do any of you have true sight or any sort of like identifying abilities?
The closest I have is just having a reasonably high passive perception
Yeah.
and high passive insight at 17 of each.
Sure.
I have the ability to see into the ethereal plane,
Mhm,
which would
mhm.
show things differently than the material plane, and I believe identify, but that doesn't really help with vision. But no true sight.
Yeah. Ivy, how about you?
I don't think I have anything
Okay.
for that.
Well, with the passive perception, one of the things with the passive perception is you hear a reference to KC 426 at that table between the two two people loosely. There's something off with the vibes over there.
I'd have to listen in a little bit closer to what they're talking about.
Okay. You hear one say, and then he says, "Hey, Spider, fetch us another round." And at that point, you recognize there's an imp running around, and he looks over, and then looks at the other person, and the other person says, "Oh, respect. He's my begat, Branzino. He only takes orders from me." And the other person, who sounds like his name might be Branzino, "Well, then tell that little begat to get us another round." The other person says, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. I remember when you were just a little boot shiner. Watch your manners. But okay, Spider, another round of apricot wine and put it on his tab for messing up the entire plan." "Whoa, I didn't do anything wrong. We were ready to execute, but the ship was empty, and our inside man said something happened on KC 426, and all the mining stopped. Something about dead robots." Ha! Dead robots. What kind of idiot do you take me for? Just then, Spider walks over with a bottle of wine. "You're a funny guy, I'll give you that," says the imp. Branzino says, "You shut your face, Spider. What do you mean I'm funny?" The other guy says, "Oh, well, he didn't mean anything by it, Branzino. No, he's a big boy. Spider, I'm going to ask you again. How am I funny? Do I amuse you? Am I like a bard to you? Like a clown? Like I'm here to amuse you?" At this point, everyone gets silent. The imp says, I just mean you're a funny guy." "I'm just messing with you, kid. I'm just messing with you." All right. Then the other guy says, "Yes, but he's just messing with you. He used to be a little runt begat just like you with his little shine box." And at this point, you see the entire mood shifts over there. Goes from funny and loose and maybe a little bullyish to tense. Gets tense. And Branzino says, You know what? Watch your mouth. Or I'll send you down to level 4, and we all know you just like level 2. The imp can't help himself. Can't help. Fails his check. Starts laughing. And he says, see, you are a funny guy. Breaks the tension. Everybody laughs. Then the other one says, from Shinebox boy to bard. But seriously, what about the heist? What are we supposed to tell folk? Branzino says, I told you the ship was empty. But Spider, you think I'm funny, huh? Like a bard, I'm here to amuse you? And his eyes start to glow. Spider, tired of being bullied, stands firm. Tired of being talked down to, his jaw juts out. And then to break the tension, the other says, whoa, whoa, whoa. Look at the rubies on this kid. Looking at the imp. He hands the imp a bag of jewels. That's it, Spider. That's how you make it. You don't take no mess off of anyone. Spider takes the bag of jewels. Yes, Matt. Just then, Branzino's whip cracks around Spider's neck, and it glows the fires of an electric blue, and it burns around Spider's neck as his face contorts into silent screams. Finally, you can feel the electricity. You can taste the electricity. It tastes like copper, and the little demon's head just topples to the ground, still smoking. The other one says, what are you, crazy? That's against the rules. It was mine. Oh, relax. I'll get you another one. That kid was going to grow up to be a rat just like the rest of his family. No, you owe me now. You owe first the debacle in the harbor, and now this? They never should have descended you. Oh, stop twisting my wings, says Branzino. The other says, if I was going to twist your wings, I'd tell you to go home and get your shine box. Alvira, do we have you back? With that last mention of the shine box, Branzino stands up. And what semi looked like some sort of vague humanoid creature now fully looks like a demon. No doubt that this is a demon now. Wings come up, and it looks for a second that Branzino is going to walk out in a huff. Takes about 3 steps away, and then you see the other demon sitting there with this smug face. Knows that he just established himself as the main guy. But then 2 other shadowy figures step out and grab that one. Branzino turns around and slowly, methodically, viciously, relentlessly beats that devil to death in front of everyone.
No one's really reacting. Everyone's just being still and careful not to draw attention.
Yeah, everyone is essentially fascinated with the bottom of their cup. Something at the bottom of everyone's pint must be very fascinating because no one is stepping in here at this point.
Right in front of my chicken wings. Oh.
Yeah. Just spicy chicken wings.
The spicy chicken wings.
Sunny's like kind of looking uncomfortably around the table, doesn't see Shield, like looking at Elvira, is like, should we be doing something?
We should be minding our own business. That's what we should be doing in a place like this.
I don't like boys.
I said minding our own business, not chasing boys.
Bullies.
Bullies.
Oh, bullies. Yeah, well, the whole place is bullies. Didn't you figure that out? That's why we need to mind our own business.
That's why we went and kicked one of them. Got the sword back.
Shh, shh, shh. Don't say that shit too loud.
Alvira, would you like to tell us about the sword, what you learned?
Yeah.
Ivy, by the way, you
talk
see
about one of
yeah, sorry. Ivy, you see all this happen. You see an owlin. You're at the bar, but not too far from you at the fireplace. There are a couple of lounges, and there's an owlin. There is a gnome-ish creature, and a full-on tree there on the couches, and they you make that quick eye contact with them, like you hear what's happening, you see what's happening here. You all acknowledge that something has gone down over on that side of the tavern.
I feel like I'm gonna be there.
I'm gonna speak
Oh, go ahead.
in telepathic. Now I'm gonna like telepathically communicate with Ivy if they will allow the connection and say, "Come have a beer," and then I'm not gonna wait for a response or anything. I'm gonna link to Sunny, and I'm gonna talk like in common, regular, out loud about some random bard's tale. But while I'm communicating with Sunny telepathically, I'm gonna say, "There's a lot about that sword we didn't know when we went to find it, and I think it's best that we keep it on the DL that we have it."
Okay. Sunny then asked something about what you just said in common, because trying to keep those two things separate at once is just hard. But over the telepathic link.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say in my head, I'm gonna start answering out loud, and then realize you asked that in my head, and just shake my head. Just gonna shake my head. But I'll talk to you real low about the sword. Did Ivy come over or no?
Yes, I walked right on over and sat down, and am kind of looking all at each of you, and then also looking over there at like what's going on. So I'm kind of like,
You been here before?
no, actually, it's my first time here. What about you
All right.
guys?
Head down. Keep your head down. Don't make eye contact with them. What they do, it's not our business. Okay?
Oh, okay, yeah, no, that's fine by me.
Just pretend like you're talking to us about this bard's.
Okay, will do.
Yeah, Captain Bungler, he was a real staunch guy. He led a great crew and his ship, the Seculorca, it was a beauty. You should have seen her in action across the ocean.
Ah, can't believe I missed it. Oh my God, what a shame. What a shame.
Wasn't that the ship that sunk?
Yeah, I'd love to tell you more. I'll tell you some more about it when we get back to our place later. But hey, about these drinks, let's get another round.
Sunny will go up and get a round of drinks and bring them back.
Okay, as you approach the bar, you briefly make eye contact with the
Name's
person
Alvy.
who had been robbed. Their family heirloom.
I want to just take a closer look over him. Does he look like he's nobility? Does he look like he is like? I'm just trying to get more of a read on him because last time he was being pretty cagey.
There are certain details, so it's not obvious, blatant nobility, but there are certain refinements. It's in the stitching, maybe common clothes, but there's something high quality about the stitching, perhaps. So maybe traveling clothes of someone with some means, certainly. There's nothing like a family crest or signet ring or anything like that.
I get enough of a look to see if he like normally wears one and like took it off while he was around
Ooh,
here.
Okay. Interesting.
Trying to be incognito, but is not normally.
Yeah. They're with your passive 17. You notice that there does seem to be some indentations that maybe in a safer space there might be some rings and some displays of wealth.
Okay. I'll get the drinks. Assuming I still have the link to Alvera, I'll basically point out like the guy with the sword who lost the sword is here. It's clear he's used to dressing up with more wealth than he's wearing out here. I'm guessing he's trying to keep a low profile, and I'm not sure why he's here though. But I haven't asked either. Oh, also, I got the drink you wanted. Take a look over the wizard who joined us at the table. What do they look like?
Oh, so so Ivy is like 5'10", lanky, has long flowing white hair, and is just kind of dressed like in just like some robes, some black robes, just vibing.
White hair is a little unusual. Are they maybe drow related, or is it more age?
Say age.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd say probably like middle age for a wizard. I don't know how long wizards live. I'm a human wizard, so I don't know.
Sunny is short. She's in very shiny half plate. Has a big amulet of the sun like strapped on her chest, kind of bouncing around. Has kind of dark, slightly purplish skin and also white hair. Looks a lot like a gnome, but is not a surface gnome. It's clear she's probably one of the deep gnomes. But they don't normally come much to the surface, and she's out here, kind of like bobbing around and being the one to run and get drinks by default.
When you hand me the drink, I'll say, oh, thank you very much. And I'll be like, I'm Ivy, by the way. Hi, nice to meet you.
I'm Sunny. What brings you to Gostiava?
I'm just kind of touring the world, just kind of a little bit of everywhere.
I've been doing the same thing. It's great.
Oh my God, it's so much fun, isn't it?
I got to watch a sunrise from the top of a lighthouse. It was amazing.
Oh, I bet that was beautiful. And then I feel like Sunny and Ivy are going to sit next to each other and just like, be like talking like, oh, tell me more.
Yep. And like back channel to Albert. So what do we want to offer the sword back to the guy? Do we want to try to figure out who he is? I think out there might still be having sound issues. You said there's also like sort of an adventuring party looking group here.
Yeah, at the table to the left behind you as you're sitting, there does seem to be an adventuring party. They go ahead.
Are they being like loud? Are they talking about anything in particular?
Not at this point. They seem to be in a good mood, but the Branzino incident was definitely a vibe killer.
Okay.
Yeah.
They also didn't step up for that. I feel a little less bad.
No, they definitely did not. There's a warlock over there who might be slightly delighted by the entire thing.
Okay. So have you gotten in any trouble while you're here? Or have you just been keeping your head low?
I've just been kind of keeping a low profile, I haven't really run too much into any problems. I mean, I have to throw the occasional fireball, but it's nothing, nothing too serious so far. No, yeah. What about you guys? It sounds like you guys have been having an exciting time.
Oh, we got into a fun bar fight. It was definitely entertaining. It was pretty. I mean, it wasn't really us versus them. It was really them versus everyone, and we were there. We were trying to buy milk, and you would not actually expect a bar fight for milk, but there was, and it was amusing, definitely. Yeah, it was a fun little rumble.
The best fights always are the unexpected ones, I bet.
I'm pretty certain one of the guys in it was, I think someone threw some fire at him and he didn't hurt him at all because, well, he's from around here and volcanoes. I was actually expecting this place to be like a lot more kind of like shiny and glittery and less smoke and ashy and volcano-y.
That's fair.
Sunrise over a glacier sounded amazing. I didn't really expect this much volcanic smoke and rock and fire.
I'm gonna like brush off my robes and be like, yeah, no, I get what you mean.
It's almost brimstone-esque.
Yeah. Seems like Sai and like Sunny like gestures to the tree as being quiet tonight. Sometimes they just kind of plant themselves and don't talk much. But Sai's a good sort so far. I only met the rest of these folk fairly recently. I really feel like I'm not sure she would claim it. I feel like Alvera is kind of like the leader of this motley crew.
Ah.
I gestured Alvera. It's, keeps us on track, I guess, sort of. Has ideas for us of things to do, which is, like keeping on track. I tell you, we'll keep talking quickly if you're, and we'll keep jumping topics on to, bits of travel, like things about the ocean, go back to the lighthouse and the sunrise, and like, there seem to be frequent mentions during the travel of like various places that Sunny has like watched the sunrise from, generally someplace high or otherwise. Top of a mast of a ship where she got yelled at apparently, but it was worth it.
That's great. Sunny really likes the sunrise. That's fitting. I like that. That's fitting. I would say that Ivy is listening very like eagerly and intently, almost in the sense of like kind of she's been missing like this kind of like companionship and just being able to like have somebody talk about something that they're really excited about eagerly, and like just being able to like listen is like really good for her. And so she's just like, yeah, oh yeah, okay. And then even if Sunny's like repeating herself about like a couple of the she's like, yeah, okay, I got you. Like just yeah.
I think Sunny definitely has a little bit of kind of golden retriever energy.
Yes. I like that. That's so cute.
Can you hear me? Is this better?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
we
thank
can.
Jesus.
Alvira, welcome to the party.
Yeah, geez, Louise, some party leader I am here. Off in my own little la-la land of feathers and cuckoo. Hey, new wizard friend. Nice to meet you. I like your pointy hat, and you're a nice lady. Glad you wanted to sit by us and have some drinks.
Oh, well, yes. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the companionship. You know, it's been a little lonely out touring by myself, but this is great. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, sorry for my disconnect in communication. I kind of owls, bird brains, kind of happens, but don't ever call me that. Only I can call me that. You can't call me that.
Oh, okay. Fine by me. You will have no problems for me.
Listen, I know you're new to our little adventure band here, but do you mind if I talk some business? You got a tight lip, or do you got loose lips? Because loose lips sink ships, and I was a pirate once. My ship sunk. Never want to do it again.
Oh, it's not that bad.
My lips
was
are
bad.
sealed.
Okay, good, great. So I'm gonna talk real hush and quiet, as quiet as I can. Quiet as a mouse, you would almost say. Haha. Anyway, so you know when we were in that place, Sonny, that real grimy place, I found some research when I was searching through some things, and I'm not sure we should give that sword back from whence it came.
Okay.
Because, well, listen, before you just okay me. But I like that you said okay. That, you know what? You'd make a great assistant. Assistants say okay to everything. I like it. I like that. You know, Sonny the assistant has a nice ring to it. I like that also. Well,
Maybe.
so that rapier we found. You know how the metal on it looks different than we've ever seen? It's not like steel, and clearly it's not gold. It's just got this iridescent sheen through it. And I'll like slide it out of the scabbard just a tiny little bit. Well, according to the research I found, this is an ultra rare metal that took decades to find called nobelium. And essentially, without going through all of the long stuff, it's a dragon killer.
You fight many dragons?
Well, you know,
I suppose. Though, if you have the sword, then you hopefully don't need to.
Well, I think it's a little bit more than that, because some of the stories I heard when I was a hatchling were about the different dragons in the lands, and they live in all different places and things like that. Some of them walked amongst us and you wouldn't even recognize them. Other ones are very plainly who they are because they're big and raucous and do what they want. But there's this kind of like secret dragon underground club, like I can have more treasure than you can have. I don't know. I think they called it Tatooine. No, not a Tatooine. A ton of ties. No, not a ton of ties. A Tontine. That's what they called it. The Tontine. And it's a underground dragon club, and they just want to capture all of the treasure, and the dragon left standing with the most treasure at the end is the winner of the Tontine. So they do things, and they're in control of things and places, and clearly people want these dragons to die because it's not just this rapier. There's like 4 other weapons. There's a arrow, a great sword, a dagger, and something else, which I think is a glaive, maybe a glaive. I don't know. I will look through my research, but there are 5 weapons. And let me tell you the best part of all of it. One of them belongs to none other than our friend, Dr. Haber.
Oh, do you know which one?
I do not. I don't know which one of them belongs to any of them. All I know is they were given to the second sons. So Dr. Haber's the second son, hopefully not the middle child, because if he is the middle child, that explains a lot about the way he acts. Second sons have these fancy dragon killing weapons. Dr. Haber owns, it's a javelin. That's what the other one is, a javelin. Dr. Haber, somebody named General Adizan, somebody named Master Viverandi, somebody named Madrigal, and somebody named Prophet Bungle, which I met a bungler once upon a time, but I'm not sure if bungles and bunglers are the same. Maybe it's like a translation across continents where you go from Von Tobler to just Tobler sort of situation. You know what I'm saying? Translation and all. But anyway, fancy swords, secret metal, kills dragons, bad news bears.
I don't understand the bears.
It's a metaphor.
Let's owlbears. You get it, owl.
Yeah.
Owlbear.
Oh, okay.
News bears.
Yeah, to me, they're bears, but to the rest of you, they're owl bears, I suppose. Just like to me, I'm just me, but to you, I'm Elvira.
Yeah, as you look over Elvira's notes, you see that indeed these weapons were crafted through trickery and deceit. They required blood from different metallic dragons, and each of these weapons, once they were crafted, will create vulnerability on behalf of the dragons. So they are not dragon killing weapons, but they do make the dragon vulnerable to damage for a period of time. And these specifically are, let's go through them. The dagger grants vulnerability on copper dragons. Copper dragons are vulnerable after being hit with the dagger. The rapier, which you just acquired, grants vulnerability to all attacks for 1d6 rounds to silver dragons.
Those are my
Go ahead.
Those are my favorite. They're shiny too.
Yes. The arrow, vulnerability to brass dragons for 1d8. Javelin, vulnerability to gold dragons. You also found out, and the greatsword, vulnerability to platinum dragons. So that implies that there is a platinum dragon in the world. In fact, it implies that each of these metallic dragons exist. So this weapon is quite dangerous to silver dragons.
And if I understand anything about my fellow avian creatures, however higher up the food chain they may be than me, the shiny ones are usually the nice ones. So if we're going to take out any giant flying lizards, it should be the not shiny ones, because they're not nice. So you see why these weapons in the hands of the wrong people could be potentially endangering to the rest of the world benalia we live in here. I'm not saying we're the right hands. I'm just saying the guy, when he said his sword was stolen, said it was passed down in his family. It was a family heirloom, which means he comes from one of the families listed, not Haber, Dr. Haber. We know who that is, so clearly it's not his. So one of the other 4. And I don't know, maybe he's just not a nice guy, because all of the weapons from the stories that I learned doing the research said they were tricked. The dragons were tricked by this first brothers, the older brothers, when they were adventuring. And they trick the nice dragons. So if they're tricksy on the nice dragons then they cannot have my precious.
Seems like these swords are things that, like, I don't know, we never want to see used. At least not on dragons.
Yes.
Especially not nice dragons.
Well, nice is subjective. Just kind of like good and evil is also subjective. Like beauty is in the eye of the ale holder sort of situation. Nicer, but still dragons.
So if you're not going to return the sword, what should we do with it?
You know, if we had a hideout, somewhere we could stash the goods, that might be a good idea.
Like Shield's backpack?
No, I was thinking more along the lines of back in Astoria. I heard a story from some little kids running around in the neighborhood when I first got to Astoria about these caves that were under the lighthouse and how they found 3 black dragons in there, and a group of adventurers took them out, and it was cleared out before Astoria got rebought and all of that. So maybe, since it's directly under the lighthouse and we can travel there very quickly, if we clear the lighthouse here in Glaciava, we can travel back to the lighthouse in Astoria and then store things in the caves under there, so that way we know where they are, but other people don't know where they are, and they're like safely hidden but easily accessible.
Okay.
Are you saying that it's your time down there?
I'm saying I'm not a sloth, but I am an owl.
Okay. All right, Elvira, I don't know that you heard the story. Sonny, would you like to recap? A great recap on the Nobelium, by the way. A couple of things here. I think the humans that crafted these swords believe that humanity was under the tyranny of dragons for many, many years. From their perspective, this was a way to break free of the tyranny of dragons. One other thing I will note before we get back to that other story is that the gold dragon, I think, was referred to as named Rutenmach. And do you want to talk about that?
I do want to talk about that, actually. So also about Glaciava and these tulips. You remember we were overhearing some things about tulips the other day, Sonny? Yeah, so Rudder Mac is actually a dragon, which makes sense why Vestment Intermodal in hoarding gold and things fits in. Because Rudder Mac is Rutenmach, but easily digestible. And if I'm not mistaken, the man takes very kindly to gnomes. And Rutenmach sounds very Kindermuntian in origin, which is gnomes and dwarves. So that could be handy knowledge to know, because the people of Kindermunt are tinkerer sorts that live there. They're into technological advancement, crafting things similar to warforges, but not quite as intellect. They're not sentient bipedal creatures. They're more nannies and maids and things, because population deficiency and such. But
so Sonny, do you want to talk about, speaking of warforged, what you picked up in that little
about KC 426. I think
yes.
I will in just half a sec. I didn't like Kindermunt once. It was not a great place. Like, there were a lot of, it was like on the edge of the Underdark, coming up towards the surface, and like it was pretty crowded, and it was not, I don't know. it was not a happy place to be living. Like, I can see why people would want to be getting out of there. And if Rudermack likes gnomes, I don't know if he would like me. I'm a little different than most of the surface gnomes, and so I don't know.
If I understand them correctly, dragons like things of intrigue, especially ones who Rutenmack or Ruddermack, he likes tinkery things like inventions and stuff like that, which also makes sense why he would fund Vestment Intermodal. So you are, Sonny, you are intriguing, you're interesting, you're out of the box, you know? Wow.
Okay, maybe. I'm not much of a tinker. That's a different kind of gnome.
You're not that kind of gnome, and you're not that kind of cleric. We got it. Yep.
Right.
Very-
I did overhear a conversation at the table over there. I kind of gesture. Apparently, they were before the demons went all demony on each other. They were talking about a heist they were going to do that involved them like jumping a ship, but the ship was empty. The ship was supposed to be coming from KC-426, but apparently, like all the robots from where it was coming from had died, and so there was nothing on the ship to be heisted.
Wait, the same Warforged we were just visiting with in KC-426? The one that sold us the ginseng knives and the Chapomatic 5000?
Yep, like a couple months ago, yeah. That KC-426.
A couple months ago that happened?
Right,
So
we spent a couple weeks on a boat, right?
Only a couple.
6 weeks on a boat, for sure. Yes.
Oh, that must have happened either right directly after we left or before we had gotten there. Time is a weird soup. I don't like it.
I feel like that it was something that happened after we left, because I think we would have known if there were a bunch of dead Warforged. So maybe
you definitely saw them. They were alive when you were there.
This is perplexing. What could stop all of those Warforged from Warforging? Because when we were there, we learned how they were created from that weird dream from a gnome tinkerer. Ding ding, ringing bells here. Vestment Intermodal, gnome tinkerer, likes dragons. All of this is starting to tie together like a nicely laced pair of boots. Not that I wear boots, and I'll wiggle my claws.
I'm guessing that like after we left and stuff, that maybe someone came out of the lighthouse and dealt with them because we viewed them as a threat.
Who would view them? I don't really. As long as they weren't bothering Dr. Haber, who was very busy with.
He was very paranoid about them trying to come in and take his stuff.
Go ahead and do an insight check.
Sure. Insight is
starting to think about what might have happened while you were
19.
There. Right. What might have happened while you were there that would have led to them all dying?
Well, we removed the traps or disabled some of the traps and had his caretaker that had been keeping the Warforged out. You know, we gave him someplace else to be other than in there. And if that meant the Warforged got in, they may have accidentally picked a fight with him.
Could be. Is there any other possibilities? Any other loose ends, maybe?
Yeah. Oh, what was
those little pets? The pets that we got loose, or that the guy had let loose.
Oh my stars! For the love of Liza, no way! Those chest bursty boys? Oh, neither one of you were there for that. That shit was insane. But they liked living things. Do you think they chest bursted a bunch of the Warforges? You didn't see it to even know. Oh man, there were these big creatures came from the ocean on these large tentacles, and he slapped them right there on the boat. And when they attacked you, they got on your face. And when they got on your face, whatever happened to you just went into your guts. And then you were just all fine and drinking beers and telling stories and relishing in the battle you just accomplished. And then all of a sudden, poosh, your whole chest bursts open and there's a creature crawling out of you and you are DED dead.
That's intense.
It was very intense. That's why I said I was a pirate once and I didn't quite enjoy it. The pirate's life was not for me.
Yep, that's one possibility. Yep. What else happened in KC 426? I think Sonny was dancing around it.
The guy who brought back those little creatures that had been living inside him, that had like rules on how you're supposed to take care of them.
Right.
There had been a bunch of them at the time when we left, and maybe someone broke some of the rules and they ate some people.
Oh man. Well, good thing KC 426 is an isolated island away from the rest of humanity and birdity and things.
Very true. It certainly is. However, yes, Mr. World. Why would that shipment be important?
It was probably guano heading to the mainland of Matria, where people needed fertilization for their food because they didn't have it.
You think the demons were messing with it just to mess with it?
Well, I don't know. I've heard some crazy stories about that side of Benalia. Haven't really been over there too much, but I don't know, man. We haven't been there yet. We've only been here and Astoria and KC 426, but I don't know. It could. Gosh, Matria's. When we found the shipping. Well, you didn't. You've seen it, but we found it before we found you, and we had that map. I will pull out the map, wherever it may be, whether it's nestled in the leaves of the tree or in my bag or Shields pack. I don't care. I'm invading all of our privacies to find the map, and I'm putting it on the table. And the map shows where Astoria is. It shows Kamach Kolan, and it also shows shipping lanes. And one of the shipping lanes goes from Astoria to Socotra and into Matria. And what we know of KC 426 and their guano supply, it is sent to Matria, where they have a massive population of people and no way to produce an enough amount of food, so they use the fertilizer to do so.
That's right. And on the table is the map. Is this the latest map? We're going to call it the latest map.
And I'll point it out, KC 426 is right along that coastline, so maybe that's exactly where it was headed. And as soon as we can get out of Glaciava, the better, because it's chilly in here for my feathers. AKA it's cold.
That's cold-blooded. Yep. That's cold-blooded.
We can probably find a boat. Do you know where we want to go next?
Well, I do, but are we in agreement that, first of all, Ivy, you're coming with us because you're very nice, and I really like nice people, and we lost a few friends along the way, and it'd be nice to make a few more.
Oh, yeah. I don't really have anywhere to be, so I would love to tag along with you guys.
Well, if your schedule is clear, pencil us in.
You just see me take out my spell book and just write something in there.
All right.
Secondly,
Yep.
we're in agreement that we're not giving this back, this magical rapier.
Yeah, it kind of feels like
Yes.
we ought to find the right person to give it to. And I don't know how we tell who the right person is.
I feel like that's one of those subjective things again, right and wrong, good and bad, you know. But do you think the dragons know these weapons exist?
Well, you found writings on them. And
Yes.
dragons have to be a long time. Do those writings look new?
Well, it looked like fairly freshly compiled research after this rapier was stolen, because the
But it's not.
research was conducted by somebody intelligent in the Twitch kids, which I think we probably murdered the magey looking one that was really just on your back really bad. That one, I think that's who it was.
Okay. I'm guessing that, like, if some. So it depends if they're trying to look. If they're looking for, like, trying to find stuff, I feel like this is something they could find. Because, the Twitch kids could find it. But if they didn't think to look, I'm not sure they would know about it.
Let me flip through my notes to see if we know that these dragons know. Because remember, I remember finding out that they were tricked into offering their blood up for these weapons. So they weren't actually like, hey, we need your blood for making a weapon that'll kill you. It was like a merry band of adventurers that was like, la-di-da-di-da, hey, hello, hi, how are you? Let's make chaos around you so we can find a way to steal your blood.
Yeah, let's talk about the rapier. So the rapier was created using a vial of blood from a silver dragon named Argent. Silver dragon, a ancient silver dragon. They told Argent that the elf king Sylvanus had been poisoned by a green dragon, and the only cure was a potion that required a vial of silver dragon blood. Argent, being a protector of elves, saw no harm in helping a friend and willingly provided a vial of his blood to save the elven king.
What a nice dragon. But wouldn't eventually Argent find out that their blood was not used for the intended
I'm assuming
purpose?
so, because dragons know things.
Right. They know. Big brain.
That's right.
So I would assume just off of that Argent probably would have suspected something was up and maybe did a little bit of investigating. I mean, I don't know whether or not they found out about, the weapons per se, but I mean, it's a possibility at least that they know that these set of weapons exist and pose a threat to them.
Well, the weapons were meant to be freeing from tyranny, right?
Right.
They killed, okay, hold on. Flip through my notes. Okay. Right here it says, the second sons of the 5 families did indeed take the weapon and put fear into the hearts of dragons. They killed 5 young dragons and claimed dominion over the land. Each claimed a kingdom of their own. The name of the second sons: Harbor Sorn, General Adazan, Master, or I think it's supposed to be Master, but it could be Mater. Master Viverandi,
it's
Madrigal,
Mater,
Viverandi, and Prophet Bungle. So they did, in fact, use these weapons. So the dragons do know they exist, which could be really good for us having one in our possession or really bad for us having one in our possession, given the fact that if we have to pick sides with the dragons, I pick the shiny ones to be my friends.
Also, like, you don't build a kingdom in a day. Like, this probably took a couple hundred years, which means this all happened a long time ago.
Yes, but ancient
it just makes it more
dragons.
likely that the dragons know already, which we already have,
Yeah.
lots of evidence. So yes, they absolutely know these exist. You could possibly give one back and to make a friend with a dragon, maybe? I don't know. It feels like they should care about
Well,
getting them back.
yes, and that could be a good idea, but also potentially offering subjugation of the mortal kind again. That's why I think it's just best that they stay out of sight, out of mind. The dragons know they exist, so they're fearful of it. The people that did possess them or whatever, humanity knows they exist and keeps the dragons at bay. It's kind of like a Ebony and Ivory perfect harmony sort of thing going on. So maybe we should bury it under the lighthouse for now.
In your notes over there, does it mention anything at all about any way to perhaps destroy them? I mean, I kind of feel like that might be something that's a solution. I mean, that way the dragons still know that they kind of exist. They still kind of have that fear, and then the humans like have heard of them and they kind of become some legend. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe do your notes say anything about that?
It doesn't say of any way to destroy it, but it does say that it is the only metal that a good dragon fears.
Interesting.
And it is the main reason for dragon layers being deep underground. Humans believe dragon layers existed to store and protect their treasure hoard, but in fact, they reside deep below to protect the veins of nobelium ore. Before its discovery, humanity lived in fear, subsistence and servitude to dragons, and dragons flew above as apex predators, and the humans cowered.
Okay, so yeah, I guess
The guy
the next best thing is to hide them.
The guy who discovered this metal, Garibaldi Nobel, was the first to learn the secret of nobelium because he was hired by the Platinum Dragon Methys, who commissioned a biography so that his greatness would never be forgotten. And you know how it is when people who are full of themselves get to talking about themselves. They talk about everything when they get in the flow. And that's just what Methys did. He said, "We dragons fear nothing, especially from humans. They don't even know about Metalbane after all." And then he just kept on talking and talking and talking. And Cisco was a smart one. He took some notes in the side of his story and got to researching and found it pretty much. Found out about it.
Is there like a metal also that does the same thing for the other dragons?
Well, this one is named Nobelium after Garibaldi Noble, who first learned of it. But the dragons called it Metalbane and said it was the only thing that good dragons feared. So maybe there is something very similar, but maybe it's not a metal. Maybe it's spiritual or elemental or something that would be for bad dragons, like the not nice kind. But that's a good thing, Sonny. That is good thinking. Good thinking.
I'm a little worried about just leaving this sword sitting somewhere. Because I feel like we won't be there to watch over it, and we're just relying on the fact that no one ever thinks to scry for it or otherwise try to find it for it to stay there.
Well, we did send that young man back to Astoria, and he was really, really good at making booby traps. What if we convince Mayor Sammy to let us booby trap the lighthouse by I will tell her I will not run against her in the next political election because I know she's terrified of losing to me. And if she agrees, we can just have the young man booby trap the crap out of the lighthouse so it'll be safe and secure.
That could be amazing. See, no ways this plan could go wrong.
You know what? I didn't say we were building the booby traps. And if we have the builder of the booby traps on our side, then they can easily navigate them with us behind them to get to what we need when we need it. You know?
It's true.
It's like having a key to a secret tunnel.
Ooh, secret tunnel.
Secret tunnel.
Does the booby trap guy like gummies? Like fruit snacks? I can bribe him with some fruit snacks. Then he'll be on our side.
Well, he is a young gentleman.
Oh, fruit snacks will work then for sure.
He is a very, very intellectual young gentleman. You should have seen the complexity on some of these locks.
I bet he made some of those locks eating some fruit snacks, you know? Get all that energy from the fruit snacks to make them.
I'm certainly not above giving fruit snacks to small children, just as I was certainly not above creating Tears of the Sun to bribe the Twitch kids into getting us back to Sword.
There you go.
Okay, so I'm hearing a couple of options here. I'm hearing Rube Goldberg, the Lighthouse in Astoria. And the other option I'm hearing is return the rapier to Argent so that the dragon that is most vulnerable to it is in possession of it. And that's the safest space. Are there other ideas? Did I miss an idea?
Yes, don't forget about the fruit snacks.
Fruit snacks, right. Alexis,
I
100% loves fruit snacks. No doubt about it. And
Yes.
popcorn and staying up late. Yeah.
And the dew off the mountain trees.
For sure. No doubt. Absolutely. Who doesn't?
I think there's a way to meet it in the middle of those two ideas. What if we search out Argent first? Store the rapier in the lighthouse for now. Well, in the caves below the lighthouse. Search out the dragon and talk to him.
Yeah, it's sort of weird that like there's this bit where it's like fighting the tyranny of the dragons, and that yet they're also the ones you say would be good to have as friends. And that those two things don't really line up in my head right.
It's like a perfect balance. There's like a fine line you walk between cooperation and tyranny. You know what I'm saying?
Not really, but I'll believe you.
You know, it's like the difference between let me don't get into my political meanderings. That I'll save that for election night. But it's like there's like a balance, right? There's got to be a balance, like something that keeps the scales even. Like the scales of justice are weighed daily. And sometimes it's a little heavier on the bad side, sometimes it's a little heavier on the good side, but they have to balance out. Like eventually they balance out. So there's got to be some sort of balance to be offered here, right? Maybe a treaty. Maybe we could get the families of the second sons together and some dragons together, and they could sign a contract that says that they won't stab them with dragon bane weapons and the dragons won't tyrannize them. And you know what I mean? Like a nice balance and a contract. Contracts are binding.
But who exactly is going to enforce this contract?
Alvira.
Yes, Alvira the enforcer.
As soon as
Enforcer.
Elvira is elected mayor.
As soon as I'm elected mayor of Astoria, I'm going for governor of Kamachkalan, and then after governor of Kamachkalan, president of Benalia.
Yeah. The population has taken quite a hit in Kamachkalan recently, but yes.
You
Maybe
know
that
what?
helps your
Population
odds.
hits or not, votes are votes. That's why we have the electoral college, and places
Yeah.
with less folks are still just as balanced as places with
Mm.
more folks.
Fair. I think in that
Politics.
district, Dr. Haber has the only vote. Maybe we give QT a vote as well.
QT can have all the votes if
QT.
because he's a Slither boy, and I just don't like Slither boys. It's not for me.
That could be a challenge for when you're campaigning then.
It's definitely not, because by the time I get to campaigning, Dr. Harborsorn will be Dr. Harbor's gone. Because
no.
I'm having a feeling we're going to have to battle him because he wants to keep our tree, and that is our tree.
Oh, yeah. If he wants to keep the tree, he's got to go. I'm going to look over to Sunny. What tree? What tree?
I point to the tree sitting right beside us at the table. It walks and follows us around.
Yeah. So there's a lot of ways we could go about this. I will get a little more serious now instead of my not seriousness. There's several ways we could go about this. I mean, obviously we may be a little in over our heads, fairly new to adventuring to try to take on some dragons, but I definitely don't think remaining in possession of a weapon that kills dragons is intelligible, especially since the more colorific dragons tend to like to walk around like a people more often than the shiny fanciful dragons. And if they find out we have that, they could use it to their own advantage against the shiny dragons, and I don't really want that to happen either.
Is there a chance that story we heard was the colorific dragons propaganda?
What story?
Oh, the entire bit of like how there was tyranny of the, metallic ones. Like that is entirely.
That could be very, very, very possible.
Because that makes more sense for why you seem to like to want to be friends with them, and like you are not the type who likes like trying to be friends with things that are like trying to control everyone else. I'm pretty certain that's what tyranny means.
Well, I'm not saying I want to be buddy, kicking it back, schmoozing and boozing with the shiny fanciful dragons. What I'm saying is, if I have to jump off of a bridge and there's a dragon flying on each side of the bridge, I'm gonna jump onto the shiny dragon's back because he's less likely to eat me in that moment than the colorful ones. Because dragons are still dragons. Some of them just a little more, how do the human folks say it about their mother-in-laws, tolerable than others?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay.
So it's not that I want to be friends. Let's don't put that information out into the Benalia-verse, because dragons think I want to be friends with them. That could be potentially dangerous for me, and I'm trying to keep my danger levels to a minimum.
I don't believe you, but okay.
Why on earth would you think that I would want to do anything dangerous when all I ever want to do is not dangerous things?
Because you had the idea to go walking into the Twitch Kids headquarters.
Wait a minute. That was an excellent sales pitch idea and was meant to go completely the opposite direction as it did. So we just came sliding in a little sideways, but we still got from point A to point B, didn't we?
I thought we did the exact plan as you planned it.
No, we weren't supposed to fight the people at the milk bar and
Oh.
create that chaos. It was more along the lines of no middlemanning. Didn't really want to have to deal with the middleman guy. Like, go straight to the Twitch Kids boss and be like, hey, yo, we know you love the Twitch. We bring you Tears of the Sun. So there was just like the little hiccup in the middle where we had the all-out brawl at the bar, you know. But I did get some sweet blue milk out of it.
And it was a fun fight.
Let me tell you something. I didn't have to give up our Tears of the Sun recipe.
Are we sure that's a good idea to drink?
Well, again, good and bad, completely subjective here.
Okay. It didn't seem to be
idea.
doing so great for them.
I don't know if a good idea in the heat of the moment is really how ideas work, except for maybe along the lines of strategical planning. You know? It was a strategy move. Sometimes you have to do things in battle that you wouldn't do in the real world. Like drink Tears of the Sun.
Okay, so you, at this point, you notice that as you're getting into this discussion, you notice that the person at the bar gets up and is spinning this little polyhedron in his hand. You remember it from last time. And he walks over to that table with the warlock and the barbarian and then the fighter, and he strikes up a conversation.
He strikes up a conversation. You know what? When we tried to talk to that guy, he didn't really want to talk to us. What makes us any less valuable adventurers than that group of adventurers over there? Rude, slightly upsetting, possibly bar fight inducing, but I said I wasn't getting us into danger, so I'm not getting us into danger. But just know I'm aggrieved.
This doesn't really seem like the bard fight type of establishment anyway.
No, certainly no bar fights in here. Just.
I said bard fight.
Gruesome murders. Do you listen in?
Absolutely.
Oh yes.
Okay. Okay, you listen in. Hey, fellas. You heard about these? You guys look like you're looking for a profitable venture. Is that fair to say? You guys are looking to make it rich? It seems like. They all grunt and nod. You guys look pretty successful, pretty competent. I would say competent, successful. You know your way around things. Yeah. Have you heard about these? You guys, obviously, you're into tulips, right? Tulips? They look confused. One of them starts to laugh. He says, "Oh, don't laugh. All the richest." All the richest. Rudder Mac himself, obsessed with tulips. I know it sounds crazy, but trust me, this is the next big thing. The market for tulip bulb futures is about to explode. And honestly, I don't want to miss out. I'm not going to miss out. I've secured, I've cornered, I have acquired quite an investment in some bulbs, and they are rare. And let me tell you something, the rarest, the colorfulest, the most unique bulbs, they are worth a lot now. Yes, but they are going to be worth so much. And, there's risk involved. Obviously, there's risk. I've got 100,000 gold pieces right now. That's my portfolio. But the rewards, just think about it. A single tulip bulb could be worth a small fortune someday. And the best part is you don't have to invest a lot of money to see a good return. They look very confused. They're used to earning a living, sort of one battle at a time. It's clear. He says, listen, listen, listen. The warlock says, that seems a little too good to be true. And the guy says, I understand your skepticism, but I assure you, this is a solid investment opportunity. Just do your own research. Honestly, do your own research. But when you're ready and you want to invest, you'll see, ask around, you'll see that this is going to blow up. And when you realize it, come back to me, because I have a way that we can all get rich. You see, I figured out where the source of the bulbs are. There is a place where they are growing bulbs all winter. They're going to be lying dormant. And if those bulbs hit the market, it's going to crash. It's going to crash the market. And the bulbs that I've got are going to be nearly worthless. But if we can eliminate that field, then my bulbs are going to be the rarest, the most valuable. They are going to make us all rich. So do your own research. Obviously do your own research. But if you decide that you are tired of breaking your back for a living, and you want real money, and you want a castle, and you want a keep, and you want a moat, and you want horses, then you come see me, because I have a way that we can go to the moon.
I kind of leaned back and looked at the table like, yeah, he's clearly scamming people. That's not the person we give the thing back to.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't seem like a person who should wield this type of power.
Look around, Toots. We're in Glaciava. Nobody here should wield any type of power.
That's fair. That's fair.
Keeps talking about them tulips and Rudder Mac. Now, I know S.H.I.E.L.D. has his theories about non-fungible tulips, but do you think these tulips actually exist? Because he said a few things in there about the tulip bulbs and about how he has a place of origin and how they're growing all winter. Glaciava is winter all the time, which means that they're not here because it's in a place that has seasons, which also, and I'll pull out the other paperwork we found in the basement in Astoria under the inn that talks about winter animals and food chains. And I'll point that out and I'll say, I wonder if the tulip bulbs actually do exist and there's something to do with Mushulu and that stuff. Because I told you, when people who like to talk about themselves or talk about things that are, important to them, or, however you want to put it, they do info dump, right? And he was talking an awful lot, and he said, I have the source of these tulips, and they grow, the bulbs are growing all winter long. And like I said, Glaciava is winter all the time. So that means that there is a place, and we have found other winter stuff along our travels. I mean, obviously there's winter in several places, but not every place in Benalia has standard recurring seasons. Some of them are perpetually in the same seasons. Like here, for example.
Maybe there's a place that's always summer, is what you're saying? Or I don't know enough about tulips to know what tulips need.
Esmeralda, the forest of Esmeralda is always green. Like it's always warm time in Esmeralda. You know what I mean? And then when you go beyond the mountains, it's always like it's deserty out there, and so it's like pretty fairly warmish. But you know, in the Fjordlands, it's like a tundra type of place. So it's not that it's winter all year round, but it's not that it's winter all year round, but it's not blistering summers, flowering springs, things like that. It's more of like a fine transition of coolness. Does that make sense?
They'd also need to be able to get the tulips here, or I guess to wherever Ruddermack is. Ruddermack wouldn't be here, would he? This feels like a trade place, not a place that like someone like that would live.
Well,
I think that's pretty safe. Yes, I think that's a pretty safe assumption.
that Ruddermack doesn't live in Glossiava.
Yeah, I think your gut is strongly telling you that that a metallic dragon would never set foot on this island.
Absolutely no.
Unless they're using like the volcanic heat or something to raise the tulips off season or something.
No,
And maybe that's why, because like otherwise, where would the guy have fields? I guess he could have them someplace else.
Yeah, he's trading in futures, tulip futures. That's how he makes his money. So he makes deals. Let's say. So
Go ahead.
Well, his profit is in the acquiring the rights to a rare commodity, and then ensuring that commodity is as rare as possible. So any rights, any of the commodity that he does not have rights to, he would like to see destroyed. That's what you're getting from that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't necessarily mean it happens here on this island.
Yeah, that kind of checks out, actually, because if I am recalling my book by Haram Abashusha about dragons and some of the notes that are in the side pages, I believe it is one of the colorful dragons that lives here in Glossiava. Sans color, but in the colorful spectrum. Kind of colored like snow. Big, scary, snap your face off when it flies through the sky.
I think that's right.
I believe that is correct. Looking at my notes in the scrawled pages of Haram Abashusha's dragon book. So, if I had to think of places that I know of throughout Benalia that are more seen on the good spectrum, if you're looking in that direction, I'm thinking of places like Esmeralda. I'm thinking of places like Asperion, where the monks are. Escor doesn't exist yet, I don't believe, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. World.
Escort does exist. It is not a Bard's College.
Okay.
It's a pass through the mountains, and there is a castle there.
Okay. So Esmeralda and Asperion, I would say, are places that certainly would be where you would find shiny dragons over colorful. And in the notes that I have from the research, it actually does say that the one dragon, the silver dragon, was friendly with Sylvanus, who is the Sylvan king of Esmeralda, the king of the elves there. Argent is friends with Sylvanus, so clearly Esmeralda is a good place. And the brash dragon
Let's read it again. Let's read through that line again. Okay.
Okay.
The band gathered the vial of blood from the silver dragon Argent by telling him that the elf king Sylvanus had been poisoned by a green dragon, and the only cure was a potion that required a vial of silver dragon blood. Argent, being a protector of elves, saw no harm in helping and willingly provided a vial of his own blood to save the elven king.
Yes. So that is a place of good.
Well, the
Um,
elf king had been poisoned
well-
by a green dragon.
So maybe there are green dragons there too.
Not was that
necessarily a place
farce
of blood.
to get the blood?
Could be. That was the story. It doesn't mean the story was true.
Also, it's clear this was happened a good time ago.
Yes.
Things may have shifted in power since then too. So without like going and finding people who know stuff, or going there, we could go there. It'd be neat to watch a sunrise from top of one of the big trees.
I
bet it
would
would
like
be.
to, Mr. World, the green dragon. If there were perhaps truth to the story of poisoning of King Sylvanus by a green dragon, would we be able to ascertain the information of a guardian of Esmeralda?
Not with what you know right now. Here's what you know right now. What you've heard in your travels, and I think Ivy would know this best. So, Ivy, in your travels, you know of Esmeralda as the land of rain and fog. It's a huge temperate rainforest that dominates the landscape. Never freezing, but never warm is the most common expression of the mood of its people. Mostly confined to rivers, the people have learned to fish and hunt. People of Esmeralda tend to live for the day. The days are short and the nights are damp and long. Intellectualism and philosophy are valued more than domination. Nature dominates the area. Nothing physical persists. The land is loosely ruled by a council of leaders known as the Wizened. Within Esmeralda, there is an area known as the Tallwood, a vast forest that borders the open lands to the north and Matria to its west. The Tallwood is famed for the quality and uniformity of its vast hardwood trees, much different than Kamachkalan, which is fast-growing evergreen trees. These are hardwood trees. Logs from the tallwood are carefully rationed, but they are the best trees in the realm. So that's what's known.
Listen.
Ivy, to
Okay.
your knowledge, there are
I
no
think
elves.
we should go to Calfax.
Ivy, to your knowledge, there are no elves in Esmeralda.
Okay. Yeah, no, Esmeralda. Yeah, I've been there recently. Sunny, I think you would actually really like Esmeralda. They have lots of incredibly tall trees in this specific area called the Tallwood. I think it would be great place to see some sunrises or some sunsets. I mean, I think that would be amazing for you. As far as I remember, though, in my recent visit, I don't remember seeing any elves there. I actually didn't hear about any elves existing there.
So maybe there was some truth in the trick, which my only thought of how we could find the actual truth is in historical recordry. And I bet we could find that in Calfax because it is the library of Benalia, and there are all kinds of things there, including, but not limited to, librarians.
That's true.
Ivy, you've heard about the Great Library of Calthax. It is the central repository of all of the knowledge combined, collected works of the entire realm. Because of its remote nature, it's not on the trade winds. It's hard to get to. It's remote. It is a safe space to collect and store and study all of the knowledge of the realm. You've heard about it. You've never been able to get a ship to take you there. It would require you to have a magical means or to have enough money to secure a ship just for that trip. Usually, the way that you've traveled and this party has traveled is sort of purchasing a bunk on a trade ship that's already going to a location. So here, it's very much a special trip. You have always been fascinated with learning, and you have had a little bit of a desire to join what is known as the House of the Mind, or the Erudites, which are the sage and intellectual class. In the Great Library of Calthax, on the island of Calthax, they sit in quiet academic contemplation and conversation. They are immune from the intrigue of personal ambition and slights. Their conclusions, however, tend to ignore psychological factors and often advise logical steps that would incite rebellion. Their counterpoint, where you've traveled to Matria and Broadwalk, the largest city in the realm, their counterpoint are the House of the Hearts, or the Empaths, which are an emotional intelligentsia that understands the irrational side of humanity, and they know that can be leveraged to exploit the population. They live amongst the people, they listen, and they understand the zeitgeist of the people. They're the House of the Hearts. You've never quite trusted them.
So, yeah, I mean, I think seeing the Great Library of Calthax would probably give us a lot of the answers to the questions that we have about, perhaps we can find some information there even about these weapons. I mean, I think that it would be better to go off of some historical facts. Will probably be able to help us not only understand these weapons, but also probably to consult, the House of the Mind and see if they could perhaps give us some guidance on what to do with these particular weapons.
So, as I think of this and think of all of the traveling we've done, I think a good thing we should decide before we decide where we're going is, what is our actual intentions? Are we interested in pursuing the Mushulu line? Are we still trying to figure out Vestment Intermodal? Or are we going on the quest to protect dragons? Or are we simply on a quest for truth?
Sonia, you haven't talked for a while. What are you thinking?
I sort of want to see all these places and understand them a little bit more. I'm not sure it's necessarily a quest for truth, but like it's a chance to see the various places. I'm not sure about helping the dragons, but I'm not sure we shouldn't help the dragons. I don't like the idea of bad people being in charge. I don't know if the dragons are bad, if the people are bad. So like Vestment Intermodal has kind of been, not great that I could see. And so I don't mind messing with them. That sounds entirely reasonable. I worry that Calthax might be a little bit boring, but I can understand if others want to go there. And sometimes you just have to go and read some stuff to understand what's going on. So I definitely think we should go there sometime. The real question is like, should we go to some of the other lighthouses first? And should we understand what questions we're trying to ask before we go to the place that's hard to get to, but has lots of answers?
Yeah, there is a lighthouse on Glaciava. It is not in the city, but there is a lighthouse on the island.
We should definitely go and fuck.
I was just going to mention.
Yeah, and let's just review for Ivy. Somebody want to explain lighthouses?
The short form is once you tune to a lighthouse, you can port from one lighthouse to another.
Yep.
Like in Clue.
Yeah, sort of. Once you unlock it, it is each one will have a challenge, but once you unlock it, it will allow you to travel from that one to any of the other lighthouses that you've unlocked. So they are all over the realm. It is one way to fast travel without a ship. Those are real challenges each time. They're not easy, but there is one here. So far, this party has access to the lighthouse in Astoria and KC 426.
So it sounds like we need to prioritize clearing the lighthouse in Glaciava. And second after that, I still am of the mind that as cool as a Dragon's Bane sword is, I don't think that it's intelligent for us to have it on our person at this time with the lack of knowledge that we have. I think just since we have only one of the items, stashing it or storing it, or maybe when we go clear the lighthouse in Glaciapa, we can go back to the store in Astoria and buy a bag of holding and stick it in there so it's not visible. That could be a smart idea. I just don't think we should brandish it.
Agreed.
And then maybe hop the ship from Astoria down to Socotra and clear the lighthouse in Socotra and go from Socotra to Matria, and that would put us on the mainland and give us some traveling and strategying along the way. And then once we hit the mainland, that will give us access to Matria. There's a lighthouse in Matria. And then the rest of the mainland having Broadwalk, Esmeralda, Escor, Asperion, Harboron, Nokor, and the Fjordlands. And Broadwalk has a harbor as well, which if by the point we get to Broadwalk, we want to go to Calthax, then maybe we could charter a ship out of Broadwalk to Calthax.
Yeah.
We do have the funds to be able to purchase a bag of holding, and we have the funds to be able to secure our passage. And then after that, I think we'll have to tighten down on it to save it for chartering a ship to Calthax. I feel like that's going to be our most expensive expense coming up. And maybe while we're traveling to these lands, we'll find out more about the people who founded them. So Kamach Kalan is clearly under the lands of Harbor Sorn, being the second son. Even though he's down in KC 426, that's where it is, Kamach Kalan. So I'll put that in my notes as that land. There's 4 other kingdoms to figure out who is which son dominated that kingdom. Because if they took the kingdom, they took it from one of the dragons that they killed, I would assume. If they killed a young dragon, I'm assuming a young dragon of each type, then...
Well, it doesn't say that they killed them. It says that they took, they drew blood.
No, it says they killed them. It says, hold on, I'll read it.
Argent is
the
alive.
second son of 5 families did indeed take weapons and put fear into the hearts of dragons. They killed 5 young dragons and claimed dominion over the land. Each claimed a kingdom of their own.
Yes, that is true. Yep.
So not the ones that they got the blood from, but they
That's
did
right.
kill some dragons and claimed
Young
a kingdom.
dragons, for sure.
So,
No doubt.
yep. I think if I'm applying tactics here, that is my most tactical mindset of our future travel path. Of course, things happen, plans change, other people have better ideas than me. I'm okay to any of it, but that's my 2 cents in the pot here.
I like that plan. It seems solid. It gives us an idea of where we're going and what some of what we're trying to do. And as we learn more, we can change it. But we have a start.
It gets us onto the mainland. It gets us access to more travel points, and it opens the potential to garner some information from each of the places that we go to along the way. I'm sure Astoria has like a city records. Maybe I can swing by city records when we get back into town and grab like a history of Kamach Kalan book or something that will explain a little bit more about Dr. Haber and, Kamach Kalan's founding or how it came into possession or whatever. The history of Kamach Kalan, and we can read it along the way, along the travel from Kamach Kalan to Socotra, because that's a fairly long journey.
Because a little bit like some of these timelines, I'm not certain how they're lining up. It's like I feel like some of these places have to be old, but like how old is old?
Yeah, that's a very good question.
Well, time is a weird soup.
Alvera, sometimes you say things that I just don't understand, but it's okay.
Well, like, think about it. When you look into a bowl of soup, you see a bunch of different things floating around in it. None of them are the same, but they all make up the soup. So you will have, if you're looking at a beef stew, you'll have chunks of beef, you'll have chunks of carrot, you'll have chunks of potato. If you're doing Filipino style, it has tomato in it and some adobo and things like that. So you have all of the different ingredients of the soup that make up the soup, but they're each different. So they're all existing in time, but they're existing differently. So just because it's Monday, September 23rd of whatever current year it is, which I'll tell you 1 second what current year it is, because I know this, it's in my notes. It is 1532, 1482. It's 1482 right now. So September, whatever, 1482. Just because it's that time here where we are now in Glaciava doesn't necessarily mean it's that time in Socotra, Matria, Nocor. Because they all exist in time, but do they exist in the same place?
No, because they're different places.
Different planes of existence as well.
Really?
Well, think about when you go to the Feywild. You've heard stories of the Feywild, haven't you?
A little, not much. The Feywild doesn't come down below.
Well, so whenever you enter the land of the Fey, they have a whole different time. So you could be in the Forest of the Fey for what is 4 weeks time there, come out of the Forest of the Fey, and it's only been 4 days in where you live.
Now, I will say that on the prime material plane, generally time moves at the same speed in every location. Alvira is absolutely correct that once you start moving interplanar travel, time absolutely gets wonky for sure. Here, Sonia, I think your points are well taken. That it's not clear when these artifacts were written. They were written at a point in time that refer to things that happened in the past. It's not real clear relative. These are not newspapers with today's Pigeon News Network. news on them. There is no proof of life in them to tell you exactly when, what, how. Dragons' lives are extremely long. Elven lives are long. Human lives, gnomish lives, I believe, are can pass in the blink of an eye. Alvira, how long do Alan live?
Similarly to humans, just like a little bit longer, kind of like a sea turtle.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So, so I think you're both right. I think, Sonny, you're right to question. There's a lot of missing clarity still. We're starting to get the pieces, but how they all fit together, especially within time, is much less, much more murky for sure. For example, there are references to your region, Sonny, where you came, and you know of the Kindermont as a place squished between the Underdark and the surface, which is dominated by humans mining the lands where the dwarves used to operate freely, but they were pushed underground, and they are being oppressed. You haven't seen any artifacts that talk about why that happened, when that happened. That's just the only life you've known in that region. Is there a connection between the name of that region? You call it Kindermont, but on the map you see it's called Harboron. Does that have any significance relative to the name Harbor or Haber, or is there a connection there? Harbor Sorn, Harboron, Dr. Haber. How do those connections work, and what's the timeline? I think you're right to question all of those things. I think there's a lot of unanswered questions. And it's all a big soup with chunks and adobo and tomatoes occasionally, if you're from Socotra.
I have so many questions. I have so much questions across. Right. This is Jason. We have to have a talk.
So the plan for next week is to go to the lighthouse. Generally, right? We have some bigger picture things, some longer range things. But step one is the lighthouse. Take care of that.
Yes.
Hopefully you'll have your full party next week for that. I think you'll need it. Yeah.
Lighthouses don't feel like something to do with missing both the rogue and the fighter.
Yeah. Yeah. Fortunately, you're in a tavern tonight, and you didn't necessarily need the firepower for tonight. But you've gained a wizard. Ivy, welcome to the party. We wish we had the full party tonight. We had 2 last minute conflicts, emergencies, I would say, very last minute. So sorry for that. And we had some technical difficulties tonight, but we are very glad to have you. It's one of those nights that was sort of always scheduled to be a recap night. This was session 3 within a 4-session arc for leveling. This is the session where we talk macro storylines. It's the least likely of all of the sessions to have a big battle. I will say session 4 of a level arc is a tough one. So next week we're going to really get to flex the muscles, and we're going to test the blind spots. So I invite you all as a party to have a discussion around roles, and if they do this, what do we do, and who's going to do what in the heat of the battle. So I'm looking forward to next week. We're glad to have you. I am just getting back from business travel. Got back about an hour before session. I hope to have our technology issues resolved next week. I am tired. I'm going to go to bed. Thank you to everyone. I saw a lot of great comments tonight. That's awesome. I saw a blue milk reference, which is hilarious. I saw a question about is it a wretched hive of scum and villainy where you are now? Glaciava is, like I said, the line between heaven and hell in Glaciava is a razor's edge. Dr. Habersorn said that famously. So this is a place where, I will just tell you this, you're starting to get a feel for it. But Ivy, you know this because you came from there. If Broadwalk is the place where the miners of Harboron go on vacation for a long weekend to blow off steam, then Glaciava is the place where the demons and the devils go on vacation from hell. They come up to the prime material plane, they enjoy themselves, they blow off steam, they mess with the imps. This is their little slice of heaven. To them, this is where they get away from hell. So for it is a dangerous place. It is a dangerous place to be a citizen, certainly. Is an unpredictable place. And the line between heaven and hell here is a razor's edge. On that note, I'm going to shut us down. We're at 2 hours. Somehow we made it to 2 hours. That first 20 minutes, I was sure we were only going to make it 35 minutes. But we dumped a lot. I'm going to add a couple of things to you to sort of connect some dots. And we'll see you next week. And we'll head to the lighthouse. I'm excited. Anybody want to guess for the inspiration for tonight's session? Anybody pick up the early dialogue with Branzino?
I've heard that before somewhere, and it's bothering me that I can't remember what it is.
No?
It's a tickle in my brain.
Anything from the beginning of the session except for frustrate. That's what I picked up.
No, yeah, I know. How about you, Sonny? Any idea what the inspiration is?
Okay. I'm guessing it's some mob movie, but I'm not as familiar with the genre.
Okay.
Is it from a mob movie, Jason?
I'm not saying that. I wouldn't say that while we're streaming live. No, I wouldn't admit to that.
No.
Oh, it's gonna bother me that I can't remember it because it's literally like right at the edge of my brain where it's like, you know this, and I'm gonna be like, that's where it's from.
Yeah, each week there's going to be a little bit of Easter eggs. I'm going to use something as inspiration. It's not going to be exact. Tonight it was actually I took basically 3 scenes, put them together into a single scene, while also trying to add in some lore about the world that you're living in and some story elements around some loose ends. So what tonight was really with that story was I wanted you to know that there was a loose end left and it does have consequences. So that loose end does have ramifications. Not that you should obsess over loose ends as you're going and exploring the world. Just know that sometimes those things will come back. So there's a loose end in KC 426. The mining operation for guano has been disrupted. That will have impacts later on. And Sonny, you called it out. There are 3 rules. With the little furries, and one of those rules, I think water got spilled on them, and they propagated, and you guys bounced, and you were like, okay, not our problem, and you went to the lighthouse. So it wasn't a mistake, but it was a loose end, and it did have some ramifications. So with that, I'm gonna say goodnight. Welcome to the party, Ivy. Very excited to have you. Can't wait for next week. And any final thoughts, Sonny?
We have a lot to figure out what we want to do in this world, because it's clear we have a lot of potential and are like starting to pull at strings. I know we need to see where we go.
That's right. Ivy, final thoughts?
I am very excited to be here.
Awesome. We're glad to have you. Alvira, final thoughts.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited. It's going to be fun.
My final thoughts are we have a lot to figure out. Most importantly, figure out is what in the F is going on with these weapons, I think.
Sure. And what And do we put onions in the soup or not? I think that's the key.
Well, it just depends on what kind of onions you have. Now, see, if you have onions that are cultivated under colder weather, they're
Right.
less likely to make you cry, but they smell a little stronger. But if you use the sweet ones that come from the tropics, they add a burst of flavor, but they stink up everything around you. So it really just depends on what you're going for.
Yeah. What if I told you that none of the soup have onions anymore? And you know why? Because all of the onion patches are now being used to grow tulips.
Oops, I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.